They were back again. 6 silver spoons, spread across the table in a curved line, thin ends tilted just slightly, like they'd been placed with care by a hand that knew how to serve in silence. He stood at the doorway, one boot still caked in barn mud, watching the metal catch the gray morning light. He didn't call out this time, didn't ask the boy, didn't ask the wind, just walked in, sat down, didn't touch them, didn't blink, didn't breathe like a man who wanted to disturb anything. Behind him the floor creaked once, small, careful. He didn't turn. "You set these?" No answer. He waited. "You know how she laid them." Silence. He looked up toward the stove, cold. No fire, no sound except that faint ticking, the kind that only old wood and airless rooms made when something had been wrong too long. "Are you dreaming again?" he said. "Putting things back where they ain't been in months?" The boy stood just beyond the kitchen threshold, barefoot, shirt inside out, arms crossed tight, watching. "I didn't do it," the boy said. "You sure?" "I didn't." The man exhaled slowly. "They're on the same curve again." "I said I didn't." "You sleepwalking?" "No." He rubbed his face with both hands, leaned back in the chair, and looked at the spoons again. "This is how she set 'em up. Night she made stew." "Yeah." "You remember that?" "I wasn't asleep." He lowered his hands, met the boy's eyes. "You saw." The boy didn't nod. Didn't shake his head either. "She was crying when she stirred it. You didn't see." He stared at the spoons again. "Are you sure you didn't set these?" "Why would I?" The man didn't answer. He was still staring, measuring, every inch of distance between each piece. The leftmost one had a tiny nick in the handle, same as before, bent a little in the middle. Her favorite. Said it reminded her of her daddy's. "Did you move anything else?" he asked. "No." "The drawer was shut when you came in?" "Yes." He stood. I walked to the drawer. Pull it open. Empty. Clean lined. Not a single spoon left inside. "Jesus." "I didn't do it," the boy said again, voice flatter this time. The man shut the drawer hard. The clap of wood made the boy flinch. "She laid 'em like this that night. 6, even though there were only 3 of us. You, me, her." "I remember. She made cornbread. Forgot the salt." "She didn't forget." "What?" "She said she wasn't feeding ghosts." He blinked at the boy. "What did you say?" "That's what she said. I heard her. She said, 'Ain't no need to season for the dead.'" Then she looked at the door. The man turned toward the door. Nothing. Still latched. Still scratched down low, from when the dog used to wait there. "You making this up?" "No." "Don't lie." "I'm not." The man walked back to the table, slower this time. He picked up the second spoon. "Hold it like it might speak." It didn't. "She put that 1 second last," the boy said. The man dropped it. Clatter, sharp and sudden. He stared at it on the floor, then at the boy. "You've been moving on them." "I told you." "No, listen. You've been moving on them, resetting them when I ain't looking." "I swear I haven't." He picked the spoon back up. I looked at it. The curve. The angle. "She set them this way after the fight," the man muttered. "You said there wasn't a fight." "There wasn't." "You're lying." He placed the spoon back. Same position, slightly offset. The boy walked over, pulled out the chair beside him. "Why'd she do it?" the boy asked. The man didn't answer. The boy looked at him. "Why'd she set 6?" The man finally spoke, voice low. "She said one day we'd have more at the table." "She was leaving." "No." "She knew." He turned on him. "You think I didn't?" "You let her go." "She went." "No, you let her." The man stood. Fast. The chair scraped back. One spoon fell again, hit the floor, and spun slowly in a circle. They both stared at it. "Where'd you hear that?" the man asked. The boy looked down. "You said she went quiet." "Said she slipped out at dawn." "She did." "Then why were her shoes still wet? Why were there crumbs on the porch?" The man didn't answer. "You said she left," the boy said again. "But she set 6. The man leaned on the table now. "Sometimes people set things they don't get to see filled." The boy reached out, gently turned the far left spoon so the handle pointed toward the back door. "She said if she ever had to run, she'd leave us a map." The man didn't move. "She said the kitchen would tell us." The man's eyes traced the curve, the bent ends, the handle direction, then the door, then the boy. "That's not a map." She thought it was. The man stepped back. The boy stood. They stared down at the table. 6 spoons. Same pattern, same curve, same quiet. Did you hear her? The boy whispered. No. I think she's still here. She ain't. I think she's watching. The man looked back at the empty drawer, at the space beneath it. The drawer was shut. You said, yes. Empty. Yes. He sat down again. Didn't move the spoons. Just stared. The boy placed the last spoon. Slow. Careful. The handle pointed left, same as before. The sheriff leaned on the doorframe, arms crossed over a dark brown coat that still smelled faintly of smoke and rain. His eyes stayed on the curve the boy had finished. That from her, he muttered. The man didn't answer. The boy didn't blink. The sheriff stepped in. Mud clung to his boots. You see it move. The man shook his head. They were like that when I walked in. Again? Same pattern. The sheriff knelt by the table, eyed the angles, the spread. You remember how she used to set 'em. She never used more than 3. Does she ever say why? No. The boy slid a chair back for the sheriff. Didn't speak. Just stood with his hands behind his back like a schoolboy being made to watch. The sheriff sat. You remember that fire? The man didn't answer. The one that never spread, the sheriff added. I remember. You still say it wasn't hers? I still say it didn't spread. The sheriff scratched his chin. Most fires don't burn just one room. I know. No walls scorched, no smoke damage. Just the bed. The boy stepped forward, gently adjusted the 3rd spoon, angling it inward. The sheriff watched. Is he always that exact with things? Since the night she left. That same night, the bed burned. The man didn't speak. The sheriff looked at the boy. You see her leave. The boy didn't answer. You hear anything? The boy looked at the spoons, reached for the 4th one, slide it 1 inch to the right. The man watched. He does that every morning, even if I move him. The sheriff leaned closer. What's the order from that night? The boy tapped the table. Once. Twice. 2 taps means yes, the man said. The sheriff sat back. You teach him that? No. The sheriff eyed the spoons. That's her spiral. The man nodded. You know she used to do this as a girl, the sheriff asked. At the diner, with straws, paper napkins. Didn't talk much then, either. She hated the sound of forks. Yeah. Said spoons didn't bite. The boy slid the 6th spoon a hair forward, then stopped. The sheriff stared. That one was by the window, the boy said. First words all morning. The sheriff blinked. The window? That night, the boy added. She sat by it. She cried after she stirred the stew. The man looked at his son. You didn't say that before. The boy didn't answer. The sheriff stood. I walked to the window. The curtain's gone. The man nodded. She took it down 2 nights before. Why? Said it blocked the moon. The boy picked up the bent spoon, the one she always used, and laid it back exactly where it had been before. You smell smoke lately? The sheriff asked. No. You? The boy shook his head. The sheriff rubbed his hands together. No wind that night, no sparks, no reason for a bed to light unless someone said it. I told you it wasn't hers. The sheriff nodded. You did. The man crossed his arms. You still think it was? I think beds don't burn themselves. The boy looked up. She was cold. The man turned. What? She said the floor felt like ice. She curled in the middle. When? Before she left. The man stepped back. She said that to you. The boy nodded. You didn't tell me. You were yelling. The sheriff watched the man. What were you yelling about? Nothing that matters now. Maybe it does. The man didn't answer. The boy touched the final spoon, the one that always pointed away from the rest. That one's not hers, he said. The man's eyes narrowed. What do you mean? She said it's for whoever comes last. The sheriff knelt again. Who came last? She never told me. The man looked around the room. Stale air. Dead silence. You think she meant someone was coming for her? The sheriff asked. She waited, the boy said. For how long? Until the curtain came down. The man sat hard in the chair. You're remembering too much. I didn't forget. The sheriff stood. Any other signs? No. Doors locked? Yes. Does she ever mention anyone bothering her? She wouldn't. The boy pointed at the drawer. Look inside. The sheriff walked over. Pull it open. Empty. Same as yesterday, he said. Check under. The sheriff bent, reached beneath. Fingers scraped something. He pulled it out, a single matchstick. "Did you put that there?" the sheriff asked the boy. The boy shook his head. The man whispered, "She hated matches." The sheriff nodded. "She used the stove lighter. Always." The boy looked at the match. "That was in the curtain." "What?" "She stitched it in." The sheriff turned to the man. "Have you ever seen her do that?" "No." "You sure?" "I'd have noticed." The sheriff pocketed the match. "Might have been a signal." "For who?" The boy looked at the door, then the table. "For whoever comes last." The man stood. I looked down at the spoons. Same spiral, same bent ends, same silence. "Have you ever touched them?" he asked the boy again. "No." "You swear?" "I don't need to." "Why not?" "Because she still does." The sheriff stiffened. "Are you saying she's still here?" The boy stared at the table, then nodded. Once. Slow. The man sat again. Didn't touch the spoons. Didn't speak. Didn't blink. He just stared. The sheriff folded the receipt once, then again. His thumb hovered over the word she'd circled. 1. "Where's the rest of the set?" he asked. The man didn't answer, just looked at the circled ink. Faded now, like it had soaked too long into silence. "Did you buy more after?" the sheriff asked. "No." "Why?" "I didn't need more." "You had 6. "I only used 1. The sheriff slid the receipt into his coat pocket. "This was from the week she stopped coming to town." The man nodded. "She circled it," the sheriff said. "Yeah." "Did you ask her why?" "No." "Why not?" "She circled a lot of things. Recipes, books. Didn't always mean nothing." The boy was sitting on the floor now, near the table leg, humming low. Same tune as always. No words, just breath and vibration. The sheriff glanced down. "That from her, too." The man nodded. He started humming the day after she vanished. "What is it?" "I don't know." The sheriff crouched beside the boy. "What are you singing, kid?" The boy stopped. "It's not a song." "Then what is it?" "She said it keeps the floor still." The sheriff stood slowly. "Still from what?" "She said things move under houses." The man turned his face away. "She had stories." "Does she ever tell you about slipping?" the sheriff asked. The man looked at the stove. "She didn't leave." "I didn't say she did." "I'm telling you now. She didn't run. She slipped." The word landed hard. The boy stopped humming. The sheriff's eyes narrowed. "You mean she fell?" "No." "You mean she tripped?" "No." "Then what do you mean?" The man rubbed his eyes with the heel of his hand. "She slipped. Out of place. Out of line. Like a spoon that doesn't belong in the drawer anymore." The sheriff didn't speak. The boy whispered, "She said it would happen." The man looked at him. "You heard that?" "She said she'd been shifting for weeks." The sheriff stepped back. "You're losing me." "She'd walk through the kitchen and forget where she was," the man said. "She'd stir stew and stare at the wall like it was talking." "And you didn't get her help?" "She wouldn't go." The boy stood. "She said the town never helped women like her." The sheriff looked between them. "What's that supposed to mean?" "She said they only believe you after you disappear." The room went quiet again. The man opened the cabinet above the stove, pulled out a torn paper napkin, laid it on the table. Another spiral, drawn in pen. 6 curves. 1 dot in the middle. She drew this the same week she circled that receipt. The sheriff leaned over. "What's the dot?" I asked her. She said, "It's the center, where I'll end up if I don't keep still." "You think she meant something literal?" "I think she felt something coming." "Coming from where?" The man pointed down. "The floor." "She said it hums." The sheriff shifted. "Like the boy?" "Number lower, like it's waiting." The boy walked to the table, pointed at the napkin. "She said the dot moves." "Moves where?" "Toward the 6th spoon." The sheriff looked down at the table. The 6th spoon was missing. "Where is it?" The man didn't move. "I found it outside." "When?" "Morning after." "Where?" "By the fence." "Show me." The man stood. I walked to the back door. The sheriff followed. The boy trailed behind. They crossed the porch. Grass crackled under their boots. The fence was old, gray, and half collapsed. "She sat out here most nights," the man said, "when she couldn't sleep." "Fence always leaned like this." "No." "When did it start?" "The same week she circled that receipt." The sheriff kneeled. Where exactly was the spoon? The man pointed. Right there, in the dirt, handle pointing back at the house. The boy crouched beside him. She said that's the direction you come back from. The sheriff stood. Back from where? She didn't say. The boy whispered. She never said it out loud. The man crossed his arms. But she didn't run. The sheriff looked at the ground again. No footprints. It rained. No broken boards. No. No drag marks. Just the spoon. The boy tugged at the sheriff's coat. You want to see where she burned the letter? What letter? She wrote one. Said it was a goodbye to nobody. The sheriff followed him back inside. The boy knelt by the fireplace, lifted a brick loose from the hearth. Underneath, a blackened corner of parchment, burned through the middle. Ash fell in a soft spiral. The sheriff brushed soot aside. One word still showed. Slip. The sheriff looked at the man. What did you mean? The man nodded. She said she was slipping, that if I couldn't see her, it wasn't because she left. It was because she was underneath. The sheriff's hand lingered on the brick. Have you ever dug under the house? He asked. No. Why not? She said not to. The boy added, she said if we dig, it gets worse. It? The sheriff repeated. She said it looks good. The sheriff stood slowly. I walked to the sink. Turned the tap. No sound. No water? Dry for 3 days. The sheriff turned to the man. You know this doesn't make sense. I know. You know what it sounds like? Yeah. And you still believe she slipped? The man nodded once. The sheriff looked at the receipt again. The napkin. The burned letter. You still have the 6th spoon? The man opened the drawer, pulled it from behind a cracked plate, bent handle, same as hers. He laid it down beside the others. The boy stepped back. The spiral completed itself. No one touched it. The man whispered, she didn't run. And the floor creaked underneath them. Just once. Software like adjusting position. The boy tugged the drawer open again. It scraped, crooked, like something inside was pushing back. He looked down. The letter was gone. So was the photo. He didn't call for his father. He just stared at the empty wood, the ghost-shaped dust outlines where both had been. The man stepped into the kitchen behind him. Did you leave it open last night? No. Was it? Stuck again? No. You sure? Yes. The man walked over, peered inside, empty except for a single paperclip and the edge of a water stain shaped like a thumbprint. That's where it was, the boy said. The letter? He nodded. And the photo. The man reached in, ran his fingers along the bottom. Nothing. I didn't move it. I didn't say you did. You're thinking about it. I'm thinking maybe it moved itself. The boy shut the drawer. It didn't close all the way. He pulled again. It resisted. The man bent low, lifted the drawer up by its sides, and eased it out of the frame, flipped it over. A folded piece of paper fell out and landed flat on the floor. The boy stepped back. That's not the same one. The man picked it up. No envelope, just 4 words written in ink too fresh to be dusted. Don't trust the curve. The boy whispered, that's not her handwriting. The man agreed, but said nothing. The sheriff arrived not long after, knocked once, let himself in. You call me? No, the man said. Then why's your light on at dawn? We didn't turn it off. The sheriff stepped toward the table. The spiral was already formed. Spoons. 6. Same as ever. Same exact curve. He pointed. That's yours. It was when I woke up. Boy? The boy shook his head. The sheriff nodded toward the drawer. Still stuck? The man showed him the paper. The sheriff unfolded it, sniffed the ink. Wet? Almost. Someone's playing games. It ain't us. Then it's her. The boy whispered. Or it's them. The sheriff turned. What do you mean, them? She used to write letters to someone she called the woman past the fence. The man cut in. It was just a name she used. She made it up. No, the boy said. She said she was real. When? Every Thursday, same time. She'd sit on the porch and read one of the old ones out loud. The sheriff asked, You still have any? The man walked over to the drawer again, pulled it all the way out, checked behind the lining, under the back panel. Nothing. He tapped the side. A hollow sound. The sheriff raised an eyebrow. That panel loose? The man nodded. Was never even. I figured it was just poor carpentry. The boy stepped back. That's where she kept the photo. The man pried his fingers under the edge, lifted. A soft pop. A cavity. Empty. "Someone's been here," the sheriff said. "We haven't opened it since yesterday." The boy whispered, "She said not to let it open twice." The sheriff looked at him. "What happens if it does?" "She said the spiral won't stop." The man stared at the empty slot. "It's already not stopping." The sheriff sat at the table. "Tell me what was in that photo." The boy answered, 6 spoons, spiral, same as now." "Where was it taken?" The man closed the drawer. "Right here, this table." The sheriff nodded. "That from before she went missing?" "Yes." "Does she ever explain why she took it?" "No." "Does she ever say why she kept it hidden?" "She didn't." The sheriff leaned back. "You think she knew something was coming?" The man hesitated. "I think she didn't want to be believed too late." The boy whispered, "She said the drawer won't close right until the last one's found." "The last what?" the sheriff asked. "She never said." The sheriff tapped the edge of the table. "She mailed letters to this woman." "She never mailed them," the man said. "Just wrote them. Keep 'em folded." The boy looked at the window. "Maybe she didn't need to mail them." The sheriff stood. "I walked to the door. I opened it. Looked out at the fence. There's no house out there." "There used to be," the man said. The sheriff turned. "She said it burned down when she was 10. Nobody else remembered. But she did." The boy added, "She said the woman who lived there never left. Just waited." "For what?" The boy pointed at the table. "For that." The man rubbed the back of his neck. "She always said the drawer wouldn't close until the right spoon went missing." The sheriff scanned the curve. 6 spoons. "You sure none are missing?" The man pointed. "That one's different." The boy nodded. "It's newer." The sheriff picked it up, checked the back. No initials. "Not part of the original set?" "No." "Where'd it come from?" "It wasn't there yesterday." The boy whispered, "She said new ones mean someone's watching." The man opened the drawer again. It slid smoothly this time. The sheriff watched. "You fix it." "No." They stared at the spoons. One too clean, one too new, and nothing left in the drawer but wood and doubt. "She's not done," the boy said. The man nodded, and outside past the fence the wind moved once, just once. Tap, tap, tap. The boy's finger hit the 4th spoon just as the back door creaked open. The man turned toward it, slow, jaw tight. It was barely dawn. No one came through the back at this hour, not since the fire. No footsteps, no wind. Just that long creak and stillness after. The waitress froze mid-pour. Coffee sloshed in the pot. "You got company?" she asked. The man shook his head. "Just us." She looked past him. "That door doesn't open by itself." The boy tapped again. 5th spoon. The man spoke low. "Stop." The boy did, but I didn't look up. Just stared at the last spoon like it had something to say. The waitress walked over. She wore old boots and a name tag that read, May. Same as it had for 20 years. She pointed at the setup on their table. "That's yours." The man nodded. "Brought it from home." "Why?" He didn't answer. She stared harder. "That's how she used to lay 'em." "I know. Exactly like that." "I know." She swallowed. "Even when she was scared." The man looked up. "She was scared?" May blinked. "You didn't know?" The boy whispered. "She said the spoons helped her remember." May turned to him. "She said that. She told me the curve kept her steady when she started slipping." The man clenched his fists under the table. "She never told me that." May sat down across from them. "She came here most mornings before opening. I'd let her sit at that corner booth, always set her spoons first, then ordered coffee, cream, no sugar. She never mentioned that. She didn't want you to know." "Why?" "She said if you knew how bad it was getting, you'd try to fix it." "And?" "She didn't want to be fixed." The boy picked up the first spoon. I turned it off once, set it down. The creak from the back door came again, softer, but closer. May stood fast. "You better stop that." "He's not placing them," the man said. "He's remembering." May's voice dropped. "That makes it worse." The boy touched the second spoon. The man put a hand on his wrist. "That's enough." The boy whispered, "She always made it to 5. Don't." "She never touched 6. "Stop." May backed up. "He's right. She'd leave one out. Every time. Said it was for something that hadn't happened yet." "What do you mean, something?" She never said, just left it empty. The man rubbed his face. You ever ask what scared her? May nodded. She said she dreamed in spirals. The boy whispered, she said the dreams moved when she didn't set the curve right. The man stood, abrupt. We shouldn't have come here. May blocked him. You came here for a reason. Number I brought a spoon. She brought 6. I don't want to know. You already do. The back door creaked again, louder this time. May looked at the boy. Don't touch 6. He didn't, just stared at it. The handle curved too sharply, one side darker than the rest. That one ain't from the house, he said. May nodded. Number that one's mine. The man looked up. What? I used to keep it by the register. For her, she brought spoons here? Number d'enfroy, she left one. Every week. The boy leaned forward. Did you keep them? May nodded. All 6? Lined in my drawer. Where are they now? May turned her head. One disappeared last month, the same day she vanished. The room fell silent. The man's throat tightened. You didn't tell anyone. Didn't think it mattered. The boy whispered. It matters. May moved toward the kitchen. Come. The man hesitated. The boy followed first. She opened a drawer beneath the old register. 5 spoons. Dull, aged, slightly mismatched. The missing one had a notch on the handle, she said. The boy whispered. That's the one she said watched. May frowned. It was always warm, no matter what time of day. The man stepped back. We have that one. At the house. May turned. You sure? Bent in the middle. Handle notch. That's it. The boy stepped closer. She said it hums. May shut the drawer, locked it. Take the others, the man said. No. Why not? They don't belong to me. The boy reached for one anyway. May slapped his hand back. You take that. You take the rest of what's tied to her. She's gone. May shook her head. She's still sitting. The man stiffened. You believe that? May pointed toward the booth. Look. They turned. The 6th spoon was gone. The boy whispered, she moved it. May nodded. Or she let it go. The man stepped forward. Where is it? They scanned the diner. No one else was inside. No sound from the back. No wind. Just a table now, missing one piece of its curve. The boy whispered, we have to finish the pattern. No, May said. She didn't finish it for a reason. The boy looked up. Maybe we're not supposed to finish it. Maybe we're supposed to understand it. The man walked over, laid his palm flat on the table. Maybe she wanted us to see where it ends. May watched him, or where it begins again. The boy touched the 5th spoon. Didn't move it. The creak behind the door faded. The man whispered, it's waiting. May nodded. It always was. They stood together, facing the curve. One spoon is gone. One is still warm at home. And nothing in between but memory. He held the ash-streaked receipt in both hands, careful not to tear the edges. The numbers were gone. The ink mostly bled, except for the words she'd circled in a heavy pen. Table for 3. He whispered, who's the 3rd? Behind him, her chair rocked once. Not from the breeze. The window was shut. The stove is cold. He turned slow. The boy still slept by the hearth, one hand curled under his cheek, breath steady. The chair stopped moving before his eyes met it. He stepped closer. The plate on the table had changed. He hadn't set it. He hadn't even been home long enough to. But it sat there now, one of the old ones, rim chipped from a fight with the sink years ago. Her plate, no food on it, just the curve of dust and the memory of steam. He called out soft, boy. No answer. He bent, shook his shoulder. Wake up. The boy blinked. She was here. What? I heard her humming. When? While you were gone. The man stood. You sure? She said she wouldn't sit unless you were home. He looked at the chair again. She never sat in it, not once. She said it didn't feel steady. He sat down across from it. Then why's there a plate? The boy rose slowly, came to stand beside him. She said it for the 3rd. The man turned. What does that mean? She said if the pattern finishes, the 3rd comes to collect. He stared at the receipt again. She always circled things, always left clues. The boy reached into the ash pile, dug gently, pulled out a sliver of burnt paper. It's the bottom half, he said. The man took it. Turn it in the light. Barely legible. The words that don't speak to it were scratched faint at the bottom. Don't speak to what? The boy pointed to the chair. The man stood. That chair's been here since before you were born. It doesn't speak. The boy shook his head. She said it listens. The chair creaked once, then stopped. He backed up. The boy held the paper tighter. She said it listens through the plate. The man turned to the table. The plate now had a faint ring of water. Cold, clear, no glass near it. He whispered, "I didn't set this." The boy didn't move. "I didn't touch this plate." "I know." She said if the chair rocks more than once, it's not her anymore. The man stared. The receipt trembled in his hand. The chair creaked again. Twice. The boy whispered, "Don't talk to it." The man backed up to the sink, dropped the plate in fast like it might shatter in reverse. The sound echoed, loud, hollow. The boy grabbed the fire poker. "What are you doing?" the man asked. She said if the chair rocks 3 times, the pattern's done. It's only rocked twice. The boy raised the poker. "Don't hit it." She said that's the only way to stop it. The chair rocked again. 3rd time. The man shouted, "Wait!" Too late. The boy slammed the poker down across the seat. It snapped. Wood splinters flew. The legs cracked. The chair collapsed inward, and like something folding wrong. The air in the room thinned. The boy fell back against the hearth, wheezing. The man dropped the receipt. It landed near the plate. Words gone. Ink bled fully now. No trace of 3. Just lines. Spoon-like. Curved. He knelt beside the boy. "You okay?" The boy nodded. It was starting. "What?" She said the 3rd is waiting to be invited. The man wiped sweat from the boy's neck. "You weren't supposed to be part of this." "She left it for me." "No. She told me in dreams. The spoon under my pillow. The song I hum. She said it was for me to remember her. You were a child. She said I'd be the one to see the end." The man stood. I walked to the broken chair, touched the frame. Still warm. Too warm. He reached under the table, checked the drawer. Still stuck. Still tight. No spoons moved, but the curve had changed. A 7th was there now. Not clean. Not new. Old. Tarnished black. Like it. Had waited too long in the wrong place. He turned to the boy. "Did you bring this?" The boy shook his head. "You sure?" "I didn't touch it." The man picked it up. Bent. The handle scratched. Notched twice. Not once. He'd never seen it before. Not hers. Not his. He whispered, "This ain't part of the set." The boy said, "Then it's the 3rd. He dropped it. Didn't bounce. Didn't ring. Just landed hard and flat, like something full. The drawer closed itself. Softly. No sound. The man stared. The boy leaned against the wall, whispering again. Same hum, same note. The one she used to hum when she folded laundry, when she stirred stew, when she was scared. He whispered, "What happens now?" The boy didn't answer. The stove clicked on by itself. Flame low, steady. The plate on the counter cracked in half. No one moved. No one breathed. The man whispered again, "Who's the 3rd?" The man ripped up the floorboards. Dust shot into his mouth, into his eyes. He didn't stop. The boy watched from the edge of the hearth, knees pulled tight to his chest. Plank by plank, the boards came loose. Old nails bent. Splinters flew. He coughed hard, but didn't pause. His hands shook. There it was, wrapped tight in oilcloth, dark green, greasy, bound with wire. He stared at it, chest heaving. The boy didn't move. The man reached down, lifted it slowly. It was light, lighter than he thought it'd be. He didn't open it, not yet. He just sat back, an oilcloth bundle across his lap. His voice cracked. "She told you?" The boy nodded. "She said if I got the pattern right, she'd come back. She meant this." The boy pointed at the floor. "She said she was under." "Under what?" "The house." "She said that word?" "Yes." "Why didn't you tell me before?" "You weren't listening." The man stared down. "She said come back. Please do not modify it, not reach, not visit. She said come back." The boy leaned forward, whispering, "But only if it was right. No mistakes. No missing pieces." The man looked toward the drawer, still shut. No noise. No spoons missing. All 6 were there last night. The boy shook his head. 7 now. "That bent one?" He nodded. "She didn't set that one." "She didn't have to." The man peeled the oilcloth open, slow, careful. Inside, spoons. 7 of them, all the same shape, all different, each with a name carved along the stem. Some names scratched out, some faint. One, clear and fresh. May. The man blinked. That's the waitress. The boy said nothing. The man pulled the others close. Turn them, read them all. 3 names he didn't recognize. One scratched so deep the metal bent. One with just a single letter, S. The last one, his wife's name. Clear, clean, centered. The man whispered, "What is this?" The boy moved. Closer. She said spoons carry memory, that the ones taken never forget. He pointed again. She said, if they're all in place, the spiral can open. What spiral? The one she drew on the napkin. The man gripped the counter. That was just a drawing. No. She doodled. She mapped. The man shook his head. You're just a kid. She picked me. You don't know what that means. She said I could see her before she left, that I could hold her memory. He looked at the floor, at the hole, at the dirt, at the open oilcloth. 7 spoons. All old, all known, none clean. The boy whispered, "We have to finish it." The man stared at the 7th spoon. May's name is still glinting in the low light. He stood up. No, we're close. We won't finish this. She said we had to. The man stepped away. She's gone. She's not. She's dead. No, he pointed at the spoons. Then what is this? A memory. A grave. A map. A warning. She said come back. She didn't say haunt. She didn't curse. She said come back. The man shouted now. Come back from where? The boy's voice didn't waver. Under the floor. The man's breath hitched. She said the house keeps the ones not laid right. The boy stepped to the edge of the floor hole. I looked down. Did you hear her voice? No. Did you dream? No. Then how do you know? The boy touched the bent spoon. It hums. The man pulled it from his grip, held it to his ear. Nothing. He cursed. There's no sound. She said it only hums for the one who remembers. The man threw it down. I remember everything. No. You remember the version you kept. She walked out. She slipped. The man stepped back, breathing hard. The boy didn't flinch. She said it wasn't her leaving, he whispered. It was the spiral closing. The man crouched, looked down into the space beneath the boards. It's just dirt. The boy knelt beside him. Number, that's where she is. The man reached in, scooped a handful, dry, cold, but not empty. A scrap of cloth caught in his fingers, frayed, blue, floral. He knew the pattern. He pulled harder, a button, a thread, a shred of her dress. His hand shook. He dropped it. The boy didn't speak. The man whispered, we need to call someone. No. We need help. No. She's in the dirt. She's not done. The man looked up. What does she want? The boy whispered, she wants her name right. The man closed his eyes. She wants to be placed, not vanished, not whispered, not doubted. The man whispered her name. Once, then again. The floor groaned, low, long. The oilcloth flapped. One spoon turned by itself. The one with the scratched-out name. The boy whispered, that one's yours. The man stepped back. No. She said it was always meant to be. No. The boy picked it up. Hold it. I can't. You have to. The man reached for it, slow. The second he touched the stem, he heard it. Low, deep. A hum. Not a voice, not a word, but a feeling. Memory, warm and still breathing. She said, you saw me, but you didn't look. And then the spoon went still. The sheriff crouched beside the hole, hand over his nose. Dirt scattered across the floor. Floorboards torn up, splintered sharp, like a fight had been lost and never cleaned. He stared at the cloth bundle in the man's lap. Open now. 7 spoons, but only one mattered, the bent one, crooked at the neck, like something tried to twist it quiet. A gold ring looped through the handle. Her ring. The sheriff said nothing for a while, just knelt, just stared. Then, still think she slipped? The man didn't look up. No. The sheriff raised an eyebrow. Then what? The man's voice was thin. I think she was placed. The sheriff reached forward, gently picked up the spoon with the ring. It was cold. Too cold for the room. Who tied this? He asked. The boy whispered from behind them. She did. The sheriff turned. You saw her. The boy nodded once. She said it was a marker, so she wouldn't forget where she was. The sheriff looked back down at the hole. You bury her? The man shook his head. You lie? No. You cover it up? No. The sheriff held the spoon higher. Then who the hell did? The man said, I didn't even know that spoon existed. The boy pointed. She told me it would show up when the drawer finally shut right. It did, the man said. Yesterday. The sheriff held the spoon tighter. So we have a timeline now. No, the man said. We have a pattern. The sheriff stood. Let me guess. Spiral again. The boy walked to the table, pulled the drawer. Out came the sound. Not wood on wood, but something lower, smoother, a hum. The man turned. Hear that? The sheriff said nothing. The boy set 6 spoons on the table, one by one, then stopped. He left a space at the center. You're missing one, the sheriff said. The boy shook his head. That's where the bent one goes. The sheriff hesitated, then placed it down. The ring clinked against the wood. Sat still. The curve completed itself. Spiral, just like before, only now it pulled inward. Tighter. The boy whispered, That's the memory. The man asked, Memory of what? She said the shape shows what happened. The sheriff circled the table. Looks like a trap. The man nodded. It is. The boy added, But not hers. The sheriff tapped the spoon with the ring. So who put her under the floor? The man rubbed his jaw. Could have been no one. That's not how it works. She always said it wasn't a person. It was a forgetting. The sheriff squinted. A what? She said people don't go missing. They get unremembered, scraped clean. The boy whispered, Placed. The sheriff glanced toward the hole. This ain't clean. The man said, She knew it was coming. Drew spirals, left clues, named the spoons. Named? The man showed him the others, scratched initials. Some faint, some deep. He pointed to one with an M. That's May. The sheriff frowned. The waitress? She said her name would be next. The boy nodded. She left that one out. The sheriff walked to the door. I opened it. It's still morning, still quiet. He lit a cigarette, took one drag. I've seen a lot of bodies, he said. None wrapped in oilcloth with a damn spoon ring. The man didn't move. The boy set one more piece on the table, a folded napkin. The drawing, spiral, same as always, except now, one more dot at the center. The sheriff stepped back in. What's that mean? She's still in there. The man shook his head. She's not on the ground. She's remembering. The sheriff looked at the boy. She taught you that. She didn't have to. The man said, It's like she knew how to leave in layers. The sheriff picked up the napkin, studied it. Looks like a storm. It was, the man said. Just slow. The boy whispered. She said if someone names it, it stops. Names what? The forgetting. The sheriff turned to the man. So name it. The man stared at the spoon with the ring. Call it what it was. He swallowed. She didn't slip. Say it again. She didn't slip. Then what? She was erased. The drawer slid shut by itself. Software final. The sheriff picked up the bent spoon, pocketed it. We need to talk about who placed her, he said. The man stood. You think it's someone local? I think it always is. The boy added, She said the third always lives close. Third? The sheriff nodded. Table for 3. The man's voice dropped. You think someone else was here? Or always watching? The boy whispered. She said the third doesn't eat. They wait. The man turned to the window. Outside, the porch chair rocked once. No wind, no sound, just motion, and stillness after. They followed the boy's map past the last post of the fence. No path, no trail, just overgrown weeds and a line of birch trees crooked like backs too long bent. The sheriff walked behind them, one hand on his holster, the other on a half-lit cigarette. He didn't ask questions now. He just watched the boy's footsteps, how certain they were. She said this place was burned, the man said, brushing vines from his coat. It was, the boy replied, but not all of it. The shack appeared just past the trees, small, slanted, almost leaning into itself like it didn't want to be found. The tin roof curled up on one side. The door had no knob, just a rope loop. From inside, a hum. Low, old, steady. Same hum the boy had carried for weeks. She's here, he whispered. The man slowed. Who is? The boy looked at him. The woman passed the fence. The sheriff exhaled. Is this someone real, or just more of her old stories? She's real. The man touched the rope handle, paused. You sure? She waited, the boy said. The man pulled the door. It opened with a sound like a breath catching. Inside, the woman sat on a wooden stool, hands folded, eyes shut, still humming. She didn't look surprised, didn't even look up. She just said, she used to come here when the spoons didn't line up. The man stepped in. You knew her? The woman nodded. The hum didn't stop. She came here because the house wouldn't hold her anymore. The sheriff stepped in behind him. What does that mean? The woman opened her eyes, cloudy but clear enough to sting. She said the rooms were forgetting her, that the drawers closed differently, that her name didn't hold weight inside her own walls. She said that, the man asked. She wrote it, the woman replied. In here. She held out her hand. In it, a ledger, thick, wrapped in wax paper, sealed shut with something dark red. She left this with me, the woman said. Said not to open it unless the boy came. The boy stepped forward. She said he'd know where the spiral ends. The woman added. The sheriff reached for the ledger. She didn't let go. I'm not a postman, he said. The woman didn't move. The boy reached instead. She gave it to him. The wax cracked in his hands. He looked at the man. She said to open it slowly. The man knelt. Do it. The boy peeled the wax away, page by page. Inside, drawings, dozens, some clean, some smudged, spirals, curves, spoons, each one labeled, each one dated, each one marked with a name, May. The sheriff's eyes narrowed. Waitress? The boy turned the next page, a name scratched so deep it tore the paper. Another page, then another. Each page had a second column, blood types, O+, a dash, a B unknown. The man's voice cracked. Why blood? She said blood makes memories stick. The sheriff stepped closer. Her handwriting? The man nodded. Every letter. They flipped another page, and another. At the bottom of the next, his own name. The man froze. Beside it, a date. 7 days before she vanished. No blood type, the boy said. She didn't have mine, the man whispered. The sheriff asked why she got this list. She said names were the only thing the spiral couldn't eat. Another page. The sheriff's name. Written smaller, lighter, no spoon drawing, just a faint curve. She said some people weren't placed yet, the boy whispered. The sheriff looked up. You think she knew she was gonna vanish? She said you don't vanish. You get sorted. The woman still sat, still humming. She believed forgetting was a method, the man said, like someone was doing it on purpose. She wasn't wrong, the woman replied. Don't forget this land by accident. The sheriff asked, does she ever say who the third was? The woman turned toward the door. You're close, she said. You've already heard them. The man blinked. Heard who? The one who rocks the chair. The boy stepped back. The sheriff said, you mean someone's alive? I didn't stay alive. The ledger closed on its own. A page stuck out. The man pulled it. A final spiral, no name, no date. Just a single note at the bottom. The third doesn't eat. They watch. The boy whispered, she said they feed differently. The sheriff grabbed the page. You mean this is still happening? She said the spiral keeps turning till someone calls it by its name. The man looked at the woman. What's its name? She smiled. Didn't answer. The boy closed the ledger. She said we'd know when the floor stopped humming. The man asked, has it? The boy shook his head. Not yet. The sheriff pocketed the page. We go back. The man nodded. The boy hesitated. The woman stood, first time since they entered. Don't stop now, she said. We're not. Then listen to it. For what? The spoon that never touches the table. The sheriff frowned. What's that mean? The woman faced the corner, where nothing stood. No shelf, no drawer, just emptiness. She said that's where he stands. The third, the boy took the man's hand. We need to go, he said. The man nodded. They stepped outside. The wind picked up once, just once. Behind them, the hum faded, but it didn't end. The sheriff flipped another page, then another, then another. This ain't a menu, he muttered. It's a system. The ledger sat heavy on the kitchen table, open wide. The pages spread like wings, each one covered in her careful script. Spiral drawings, names, blood types, seat placements. All of it was coded, all of it dated, none of it random. The boy sat at the far end of the table, pulling spoons from the drawer. Fast, focused. "We're almost there," he whispered. She said we were close. The man stood behind him, silent, hands clenched into fists. The sheriff tapped a page. "Look at this one. Same spiral, but every seat's labeled with an age. 7, 12, 14. The boy didn't look up. "She said age matters," he murmured. "Not everyone forgets the same way." The man asked, "Why ages?" "Because they were taken. Differently." "Taken?" The boy nodded. "Not killed, not buried, sorted." The sheriff rubbed his face. "This one has initials I've seen before." "Where?" the man asked. "On the adoption reports. Old files. Women who gave up children under strange circumstances. No father listed, no follow-ups." The boy whispered, "Because they didn't remember giving them up." The room went still. The drawer stuck again. The boy yanked hard. Spoons clattered. All 7. He laid them out quickly, checking placement against the next page in the ledger. The man stepped closer. "Slow down. We can't." "Why not?" "She said the spiral only holds shape when no one doubts." The sheriff circled the table. "This page links May's spoon to a girl named Clara, 17, blood type AB, gone in 89. The man blinked. "May never had kids." "Not that she remembers." The sheriff turned another page. "Same pattern, but this one's labeled repeat." The man said, "It's happening again." It never stopped. The boy shifted one spoon, bent neck, center, then placed 2 more, widening the spiral. She said every time it's set right, another piece shows. The sheriff asked, "Piece of what?" "The forgetting." He looked at the man. "She wasn't tracking people. She was tracking silence." The man swallowed. "You mean every empty seat is someone who was made to forget they ever sat down?" The boy whispered, "And every spoon is what's left of them." The sheriff stepped back. "You okay?" the man asked. The sheriff held out his hand. It shook. "One of these names. I think it's my sister." The man frowned. "You said she died young." "That's what they told me." The boy looked up. "Do you remember the last time you saw her?" The sheriff didn't answer. The boy nodded. "That's how it starts." The man sat down. "So what do we do?" The boy tapped the last spoon into place. "We finish her pattern." The ledger lay open to the final page. No spiral this time, just a circle. Inside it, the word placement written 6 times around the edge. In the center, one final blank. The sheriff whispered, "She left one seat open." "For the third," the boy said. "No," the man said. "The third doesn't eat." The boy shook his head. "Then it's for the one who names them." The man pointed at the circle. "That's not a map. It's a grave." The sheriff looked at the table. "But we didn't bury her." "No," the man said. "But someone did. And she used this to remember." The boy picked up the bent spoon, turned it in his hand. "She said this one's mine now." The man froze. "No. She told me in a dream." "She's wrong. She said it's how I carry her, without losing myself." The man grabbed his arm. "You don't belong in this." "I was born in it," the sheriff whispered. "He's right." The boy looked at them both. "It's a memory, not death." "That's what she said. The spoon doesn't mean I'm gone. It means I'm holding it." The room pulsed. The drawer slid closed on its own. The floor beneath them creaked, low, deep, like a warning, like breath. The sheriff sat down, rubbing his temple. "This house isn't haunted." "No," the man said. "It's remembering." The boy tapped the spiral once. The spoons shifted slightly, each one turning their handles outward, same as the diagram. The page flipped, on its own, back to the beginning. The man leaned forward. "What does it want?" "Not want," the boy said. "Need." The sheriff read the first page. "They're not gone, they're sorted. If you want them back, learn the order. Speak the name. Place the last spoon." The man looked at the boy. "What's her name?" The boy paused, then whispered it. Not the name the town remembered, not the one on her papers, the one she only ever wrote once, the one she told the boy when he asked, "Who were you before me?" He spoke it soft. The spiral hummed. The stove lit. The room went still. The plate on the counter cracked down the middle. and the drawer opened again. Inside, one more spoon. Brand new, but it's already warm. The ninth spoon clicked into place. The boy didn't touch it. No one did. It moved on its own, slid slow across the table, curved into the outer ring, and stopped, completing the spiral. Blood marked every tip. Some dry, some are still wet. The man stared at them. "That wasn't there a second ago." The boy whispered, "She's here." The windows rattled. Not from the wind. There was no wind. The stove clicked once, then again. Then it ignited. A blue flame, soft and steady. The man stepped back from the table. "What is this?" The boy didn't answer, just stared, eyes locked on the spiral. The sheriff stood in the doorway, one hand still on his holster, though he hadn't drawn it. "This ain't a memory." "No," the boy said, "it's an arrival." The air shifted, tightened. The house settled like it hadn't breathed in years and finally remembered how. The man dropped to his knees. "Forgive me," he whispered. "I didn't see you. I didn't listen." No reply. No whisper, no hum. Just the chair. It pulled itself back from the table. Not suddenly, not violent. Software, deliberate. It scraped slowly against the floorboards and eased into its place, where she always meant to sit, but never did. The boy reached forward, not to touch, but to steady the napkin with her final drawing, the one with no name in the center. Now it pulsed, not with light, but with weight. The spiral had a gravity now, pulling thought and guilt and years into its orbit. The man didn't move. He kept his knees pressed to the floor, hands folded at his chest. "Forgive me," he said again. The sheriff stepped forward. "She said this would happen?" The boy nodded. "If we placed her right." The room stayed silent. The stove flame grew taller. The windows stayed rattling. The ledger sat closed, sealed again without anyone touching it. The man raised his head. "Why blood?" The boy didn't flinch. "She said grief has a shape, and shape needs weight." The sheriff paced the edge of the room. "Are we done now?" The boy shook his head. "One left." "Where?" The boy looked at the floor. The man looked too, but nothing was missing. Nothing was broken. And then they heard it, software metallic, rolling. From the hallway, they turned together. A spoon spun out from the shadows, turning like it had been pushed across a long wooden lane. It moved slowly, then slower, stopped at the man's boot. The bent handle faced up. This one wasn't hers. It wasn't the boy's. And it wasn't one they'd placed. The man crouched, didn't touch it. "Whose is it?" he asked. The boy stepped closer. "She said the last one would come on its own." "From the one who watched," the sheriff whispered. "The third." The boy nodded. "She said the third doesn't eat, but they leave a trace." The man reached out. I picked it up. Blood was already on it, still warm, still wet. He turned it over. No name, no scratch, just weight. He placed it on the napkin. The spiral accepted it, closed around it. The hum returned, low, full, from the floor, from the stove, from the windows, from the walls. "She's here," the boy whispered again. The man turned toward the chair. Empty, but it wasn't. He saw the pressure in the cushion, the small dip where her weight used to fall when she laughed too hard. He stepped forward, kneeled again. "Say it," the boy said. "What?" "Say her real name." The man opened his mouth, but nothing came. The boy placed his hand on his shoulder, software firm. "She said you had to remember it without pain." The man tried again. Her name came out broken the first time. The second time it was held. The third time it echoed. The stove flared. The spoons clicked. And then everything stopped. No hum, no wind, no rattle, just stillness. The sheriff lowered his hand from his belt. The chair stopped moving. The drawer stayed shut. The boy sat down on the floor. Tired, the man stood. "Is she gone?" "No," the boy said. "She's placed." He looked at the spiral. Every spoon pointed inward. Every tip was stained red. The man picked up the last spoon again. "Do I keep it?" The boy nodded. "She said the one who finishes the spiral has to carry the memory." The sheriff looked toward the window. "It's quiet now." "For a while," the boy said. The man stared down at the spoon. It didn't hum. It didn't burn, but it pulsed, like a heart that finally found its rhythm. Dawn slid in quiet, pale and low. No rattling windows, no humming floors, no soft creak from the porch chair, just stillness. The man walked into the kitchen barefoot. His heels touched cold tiles, the kind of cold that didn't sting, just reminded you the night had passed through. The table was bare, no spiral, no spoons, no napkin, just wood, scratched and stained and steady again. He stared for a long time, not at anything, just in the absence. The boy sat near the hearth, eating slowly. Oatmeal, plain, no sugar, no spoon, just using his fingers. He didn't speak. The man opened the drawer. It slid without resistance. Empty. He checked under the liner, behind the cracked plate. Nothing. The hum was gone. The heat was gone. He pulled out a chair, sat down across from nothing. No spiral, no memory, just the quiet that came after. He stood again, went to the cupboard, took down one plate, set it on the table, centered it, pushed it slightly left, stopped, then leaned forward, ducked his head under the edge of the table, ran his fingers along the wood. There it was, faint, but there. Her name, carved deep, not with a knife, but with something sharper. Memory. He traced it once, closed his eyes, then opened the drawer again. Still empty. Still still. He stepped outside. The sheriff stood on the porch, coffee in hand. No badge today, no notebook. Just that same brown coat and a tired look that had settled deeper into the lines around his eyes. "She's placed now," he said. The man nodded. "She was right," the sheriff added. "It wasn't death." No, wasn't grief either. The man looked at the horizon. It was ordered. The sheriff took a sip. "Guess that's the Last Supper after all." The man didn't answer. He stepped back inside. The boy had finished eating, was washing the bowl in the basin. The water ran smooth, no groan in the pipes, no gurgle from the drain, just water. The man walked to the drawer one last time. I opened it. This time something was there. One spoon, old, worn, bent just slightly at the neck. He picked it up, set it beside the plate, gently, not like before, not in a pattern, just placed. The boy watched from the sink, said nothing. The man reached into his pocket, pulled out a second spoon, shiny, clean, no scratches. He didn't remember putting it there. I didn't remember ever seeing it before, but it felt right. He set it beside the first, not the opposite, not aligned, just near. The boy dried his hands. I walked over, stood at the table. "Are you expecting someone?" he asked. The man shook his head. "No." "Then why two?" The man looked at the spoons. "Just in case." The boy nodded. "Saturday. They didn't eat. They didn't pray. They didn't speak." The wind moved outside. Once, then stopped. The sheriff stepped off the porch, boots crunching dry. Gravel. He didn't look back. Inside, the man picked up the spoon with the faintest curve, ran his thumb over the metal. It was warm, not in the way fire warms. In this way, memory holds heat. He didn't cry. He didn't speak. He just set it back down. Not in the spiral, not in the center, just where it belonged. Then he reached under the table one last time, traced her name again. The boy asked, "Will it stay?" The man said, "It's better, even if the spoons are gone." "Yes." "Even if the drawer empties again." "Yes." The boy leaned his head on the table, eyes half closed. "She said we wouldn't know it ended until we stopped arranging things." The man looked down. The spoons didn't move. The plate didn't hum. The stove didn't click. There was no third chair, no spiral, no curve, just a kitchen, just a table, just memory, and somewhere beneath it all, her name holding steady, right where it should be.